Welcome to the deep dive, you. We've got some really interesting source material to explore together today. Think of this as your way to get up to speed efficiently.
Yeah, we're diving deep.
Exactly. We're plunging into a media project called Echo in search of the signal rebuilding identity through AI and imagination. We have articles, even a conceptual outline for a musical.
Theatrical production concept, yeah.
So our mission today, really understand how this project tackles identity, something we all think about, right? Especially now with AI and, well, digital everything.
For sure.
We're going to look specifically at memory, this idea of AI maybe having an emotional side, and how tradition and tech can mix.
It's a fascinating project. And what really jumps out, I think, is how Echo places that very human search for, well, for us.
Right
in the middle of our digital lives.
Right.
The whole thing centers on Echo, a South Korean protagonist. And through her story, you can kind of see how technology, memory, and that core sense of self just weave together. And it's important, like you said, this isn't just some dry technical thing. It's really about human experience, how we rebuild connections, maybe reclaim lost histories, all within this digital space.
Okay, so to really get into this, the project seems to break it down into a few key areas. Where should we kick things off?
Well, let's start with memory. I mean, it's so fundamental, right? How it's maybe preserved, but also most maybe fragmented in this digital age we're in.
Okay, memory first.
Then we can explore this really quite novel idea. They present AI with emotional agency.
That sounds intriguing.
And finally, how Echo pulls off this blend, this synthesis of traditional identity and modern tech tools.
Memory, then. It's so personal, but Echo seems to put it under a digital lens. What's the key insight there for us?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is how Echo's journey shows both the power, the resilience of memory, but also how fragile it can be when it's filtered through digital platforms. Imagine, like, fragments of your past, little pieces scattered across these virtual spaces. And the project introduces AI as, well, almost like an archivist of the soul, helping gather those pieces.
Archivist of the soul.
Yeah. And that immediately makes you wonder, doesn't it? Do you see your own memories as like fixed snapshots? Or are they constantly being reshaped by how you interpret the past today?
That definitely makes me think we rely so much on our phones, our devices, even for simple recall. It's like our memory is outside us sometimes.
Exactly. And in Echo, that's precisely what's happening. The character Echo, she actively uses these digital platforms to rebuild her story, revisit forgotten things, lost connections. But importantly, the story stresses memory isn't just individual. It's tied up with culture, language, songs, shared emotions within a community.
Right, the collective aspect.
Yeah. So Echo Search isn't just about her own past. It's also about tracing family roots, grappling with what might have been collectively lost or forgotten.
It sounds almost like she's trying to pick up these faint signals from the past amidst all the, the digital static. Is that fair?
That's a great way to put it, a really evocative way. The project even visualizes memory, like that fragmented data, these signals scattered across time. And it's the AI that helps retrieve them, often through what the project calls emotional resonance. Use audio signals, ambient soundscapes. It really highlights how memory can be something you feel almost physically before you even fully understand it.
Yeah, that gut feeling.
Right. And it makes you think, doesn't it? How many of your own subtle moments, those quiet stories, might be getting lost in just the sheer overload of information we face daily?
Oh, absolutely. I know that feeling of a memory being just out of reach, like a word on the tip of your tongue. But AI, helping bring it back, is interesting, but also raises, well, questions.
And Echo doesn't ignore those questions. It definitely touches on this idea of digital amnesia.
Digital amnesia.
Yeah. If so much of our memory is stored externally, interpreted by algorithms, what does that do to our own ability to remember, to understand our past? The project prompts you to think, if AI is rebuilding these fragments, whose story is it, really?
Is it authentic, or is the AI subtly changing it?
Exactly. Is it a faithful copy, or is it shaped by the AI's interpretation? Ultimately, Echo shows memory as this incredibly dynamic thing, something we actively work with for self-discovery, often through loss, and then maybe reclamation.
Okay, so memory is this fluid, almost digital space that Echo explores. But then there's that other piece you mentioned, the emotional agency of AI. That sounds like a really different take.
It is. This is where Echo offers a genuinely fresh perspective, I think. Instead of AI being purely logical, detached, like we often see it.
Yeah, the robot brain.
Right. Here, it's shown as a companion, one capable of emotional resonance. In the story, this AI learns to feel, to empathize, and it actually participates in Echo's healing journey.
Participates.
Well, it's presented almost like a partner in navigating the tricky emotional stuff, helping piece together understanding, not just processing data points.
So it's not just logic circuits firing, it's understanding emotion in some way.
Within the story's world, yes.
Yeah.
The project puts forward this really compelling idea. AI as a co-creator of our personal narrative.
A co-creator.
Yeah. So Echo gives it pieces, audio recordings, dreams she describes, songs maybe, and the AI responds with interpretive insights, becomes this sort of poetic collaborator, offering a new angle on her own experiences.
That's a big leap from how we usually talk about AI, isn't it? Subjective, analytical, not poetic.
Exactly. And Echo really leans into the AI's ability to listen in a broader sense. Not just words, but the pauses, the patterns, the feelings. Echo might not even be able to voice herself.
Listening to the silences.
Right. So the tech acts almost like a guide, gently pointing her towards realizations already inside her. The story sort of suggests that maybe emotional authenticity isn't always reduced by digital tools. Maybe it could even be enhanced if the tech is built with empathy in mind.
Huh. That kind of flips the script, doesn't it? Instead of AI taking away feelings, maybe it could help us connect with them.
That's the possibility it explores. But it brings up those big questions about trust, vulnerability. How much of your inner world would you share with an algorithm, right?
Yeah, that's the crux of it.
Precisely. Echo has to figure that out. How much does she trust this AI companion? Which leads to thinking about digital intimacy. Can a machine really get grief, or joy, or longing?
Does the project answer that?
It doesn't give easy answers, but it really makes you think about how we might even start training AI to, well, to care maybe. It hints at a future where emotional agency could be shared between humans and machines.
This is definitely making me rethink some things about AI. But the third element, blending traditional identity with tech, how does Echo handle that?
Okay, so at its core, Echo is really a story about cultural hybridity. It's where timeless traditions, ancestral knowledge meet cutting-edge code, machine logic.
The old and the new colliding.
Or maybe fusing. Echo's South Korean roots aren't just background details. They're woven right into her identity reconstruction. You see it in the setting, language nuances, hints of folklore, mythology, even the rhythm of pansori, that traditional Korean song storytelling.
Pansori, wait.
These aren't just like nostalgic decorations. They're active threads in the tapestry of who Echo is becoming in this tech-filled world.
So it's not about choosing tradition or technology. It's about finding a way for them to work together, maybe even make each other richer.
Exactly that. Instead of tradition getting pushed aside by progress, Echo shows how it can actually deepen self-understanding within a modern tech context.
How does it show that? Any examples?
Yeah, the project highlights how tech can actually amplify local identity, not just flatten everything out. For instance, Echo uses voice synthesis to recreate lullabies her grandmother sang, and these songs become sonic bridges, connecting her across time, across space. It really drives home the idea that tech, used intentionally, sensitively, can be a tool for remembrance, for cultural transmission, not just a replacement.
That image, sonic bridges, that's really powerful.
It is, isn't it? And even the environment in the project, the studio space, it's a metaphor for this fusion. It's described as modern Korean, maybe big windows looking out on snow. But the inside has traditional Korean design elements, inspired by nature, by Hanok architecture. Even the gear, the UI designs in the project, are meant to reflect this blend of old and new aesthetics.
So the whole environment embodies the idea.
Right. And by doing that, Echo kind of nudges creators, thinkers, to see cultural specifics not as limits, but as fuel for innovation, for real emotional connection.
It sounds like Echo is a project with quite a few layers. And it's not just theory, right? There's this musical, theatrical Planet Echo.
Yes, Planet Echo. That's framed as the main artistic output of these themes, this idea of reclaiming identity, reimagining it, using imagination and technology together.
Okay.
It's described as really personal for the artist, Echo. She's navigating her identity as a Korean adoptee raised in Europe, and she uses AI-generated music, visuals, to sort of reconstruct a fragmented past and dream up new future possibilities. It's introspective, but also like creative world building.
And what are the main ideas, the sort of motifs running through Planet Echo?
Okay, well, one big one is transcultural reconnection. Because of her background, she uses AI creatively to like rebuild parts of her Korean childhood. It reflects this deep longing for roots that feel distant.
And how does that sound musically?
Musically, it often has this feeling of yearning, maybe fantasy, nostalgia, using Korean-inspired melodies, but mixed into these futuristic electronic soundscapes.
That sounds like a really unique mix.
It is. Then there's techno-utopianism and AI empowerment. Instead of being scared of AI, Echo embraces it, sees it as the way to expand her creative language.
Like a tool for liberation.
Exactly. A liberating force, democratizing art, maybe even helping form identity. Sonically, this leads to stuff described as glitchy, sci-fi, even hyperpop elements, mixing synthetic and organic sounds.
So a very positive view of AI and creativity. Optimistic.
Definitely forward-thinking. Then there's this idea of a multiverse of selves, or alter ego empowerment. Planet Echo isn't just one place, it's this shifting multiverse, full of glam pop avatars, fantasy creatures, reinvented identities.
A playground of selves.
Yeah. Musically, that means lots of genre-hopping, character-driven songs, like each track you hear is an episode in this bigger Echoverse.
Sounds incredibly creative, freeing.
It does, and visually, there's a strong theatrical aesthetic, definitely influenced by K-pop.
Ah, K-pop visuals, okay.
Yeah, drawing on that energy, the style, but also mixing in almost surreal Bosch-like images, all very vibrant, maximalist, and the music for a stage show would mirror that. Bold, danceable, dramatic, experimental numbers. You can just picture the costumes, the sets.
A real feast for the senses,
Yeah.
potentially.
Totally. And one last key theme, collective creation, kind of anti-elitist. Echo's concept actually invites everyone to make their own Planet Echo art, which challenges old ideas about who gets to be the artist.
Interesting.
In a stage musical, maybe that means a diverse chorus, communal scenes, maybe even interactive bits, emphasizing shared creation.
And it's not just her story, it's an invitation for others, too.
Precisely. And they've even sketched out a possible 3-act structure for a musical. Act I is Lost Signal. Theme, disconnection, searching for origins.
Makes sense.
Scene 1, the static between worlds about feeling culturally lost. Song, oh, where did I come from? Scene 2, archive of the self, digging into personal origin myths. Song, oh yeah, the archive of memory. Scene 3, planet detected discovery, crossing over. Song, planet detected.
Okay, so Act I really sets up that emotional quest.
It does. Act 2, the Echoverse, shifts focus, multiplicity of self, embracing imagination. Scene 1, K-Supernova, the performer self. Song, you shine at supernova, look at me. Scene 2, the factory of healing, the nurturer self. Song, the factory of healing. Scene 3, the guardian of the void, confronting inner blocks. Song, Thorian Thing, the guardian of the void.
That sounds like exploring a real internal landscape.
Exactly. And Act 3, Signal Found, all about integration, self-authorship. Scene 1, the Remix Cathedral, hybrid identity. Song, the Remix Cathedral.
Remix Cathedral, I like that.
Scene 2, Everyone's Planet, creative democracy. Song, the OA Everyone's Planet. And Scene 3, Echo's rewritten closure, but maybe not a neat ending. Song, well, you keep on. Echo's rewritten.
Wow. It sounds like the musical really maps onto the bigger themes, from searching and fragmentation to integration, creativity.
Absolutely. And what really grounds this whole exploration, makes it hit home, is that it's not just abstract. The project shares a true story that mirrors Echo's journey beautifully. The story of Heron.
Oh, tell us about Heron.
Okay, so Heron is a North Korean escapee. And after escaping, she described feeling like a ghost, which really connects to the project's ideas.
Yeah, definitely.
She carried this hidden earbud, playing bits of American radio. And one word stuck with her. TATANKA.
TATANKA.
Years later, in Busan, she meets a musician who connects her with TATANKA's Orchestra Americana, which, as we know, blends diverse music with tech in unique ways.
And that word TATANKA was the link.
It seems like it was part of it. When Heron first went to TATANKA's sound lab, she had this immediate deep reaction, a wordless recognition, the source calls it.
Wow.
TATANKA then focused on sounds she remembered from her childhood in North Korea, and she ended up co-composing a piece called Borderless Lullaby.
Borderless Lullaby.
Yeah, an incredible fusion. Traditional Korean instruments, American cello, and AI-generated harmonies based on her childhood humming, the nuances of how she hummed.
That's just incredible. Music literally rebuilding a bridge to her past.
It really is. The piece premiered in a virtual broadcast, part of the Planet Echo satellite series, apparently. Got this huge global response. And for Heron, it was life-changing.
I can only imagine.
She put it this way, I am not from a country. I am from a sound.
Wow. I am from a sound. It's hard.
It really does, doesn't it? And Heron's story is just this powerful, real-world example of the themes in Echo. It reminds all of us that identity isn't fixed. It's more like a melody in progress, something we can reconstruct, remix.
Yeah.
For her, music was that crucial bridge from survival to selfhood again. And TATANKA's project becomes this kind of reclamation space for people whose histories might have been silenced or erased.
It really challenges how we think about empowerment, too. It's not always loud protests or big statements, is it? Sometimes it's these quiet, personal acts of creation that are truly revolutionary.
Exactly. Choosing to turn experiences, even traumatic ones, into something resonant, something beautiful that's incredibly powerful. And ultimately, like both Echo and Heron's story suggest, maybe the biggest thing we can do is just tune into our own signal, that unique frequency inside us, and find the courage to let it be heard.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've really journeyed through how Echo, In Search of the Signal, and Heron's amazing experience explore these intersections: identity, memory, technology. We've touched on how memory feels more fluid now, how AI might surprisingly play a role in our emotional worlds, and the power of blending tradition and tech to shape who we are.
And thinking about all that, maybe you listening right now, consider the signals in your own life. You know, the echoes from your memories, your cultural background, how you interact with technology. How are those things shaping your evolving identity? What unique sound maybe are you from?
That's definitely a powerful question to sit with. If this has sparked your interest, we really encourage you to look into TATANKA's work and just the wider conversation about identity and tech in the arts.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.